males, children of all ages, this is the greatest time of the day. From the center of the universe, New York City, it's the main event you've been waiting for. It's time to go in the cage with Cyclone.
And guess what, everyone? We are live. We are now transitioning from downstairs to upstairs. And I got to be honest with all of you. The reason why we have to do it is because downstairs is too small for my fat butt. You know, Al Martin, the owner of Broadway Comedy Club, is a really great guy, and he's just running out of butter, putting it on my sides to squeeze my ass downstairs. And he's like, look, I like you. We got to move you upstairs. We'll reinforce the floor upstairs so you don't fall through. But either way, we are upstairs. We are transitioning now. And we're only going to be getting better. One step at a time, baby steps. And I'm not going anywhere. Despite me always saying I'm going to die, I'm not going anywhere. It is Monday, June 26th. It's a comfortable day outside. So much to talk about, so much going on. But I want to remind everybody, on Facebook, it's In the Cage with Cyclone. Check me out on Twitter at CYCIE19. Boneheadpics.com. And listen, with all the amount of action this past weekend, I did 7 stories. You could read them all on there. And I'm even finally fixing my website, cyclonecomedy.com. Finally, all the kinks, all the bugs are getting worked out. And it's going to eventually look successful. I swear to you it is. There's, like I said, a lot to talk about. We're going to be talking about everything that happened to me during Bellator 180 NYC week. We're going to talk about all the nonsense from last night's Oklahoma City card for the UFC, because God forbid the UFC let Bellator get a weekend to themselves. We're going to have a Facebook question. We're not going to have time, though, to do a spotlight on a fighter. We may or may not have enough time to even do a dream fight, but we'll see, because my butt, like I said before, has a very important meeting later on today with somebody you guys are going to like. Anyways, all that is coming up and a lot more right after this.
This is Frank Edgar. This is the Barbarian Tim Boach.
I'm World Series of Fighting undefeated lightweight champion Justin Gaethje.
The MMA legend, UFC Hall of Famer, Iceman. Check it out. If you got the guts, step in the cage with Cyclone.
All right, so here we go. Let's run down the nonsense that was last night in Oklahoma City. I mean, first of all, you got to feel for people in Oklahoma City. They live in Oklahoma City, number one. Number two, the nonsense with the Oklahoma City Thunder and Kevin Durant. And I'm not even going to get into that whole big ball of wax. But once again, officiating has screwed up big time. And you know what? The officiating was bad up in Madison Square Garden, too. But let's first go on with the UFC, shall we? Mario Yamasaki, who, as Dana said, cares more about making heart signs like a 12-year-old girl than actually officiating bouts. Look, here's the deal. The main event between Kevin Lee and Michael Chiesa, did Michael tap out? No. Did Michael wind up going to sleep? No. Should he have stopped the fight? No. No, he shouldn't have. But then again, I guess, and I'm only speaking for him. I'm trying to be devil's advocate. You got to wonder if there is a thing that you want, you want a fighter to go out on a shield. You want him to go out sort of like Holly Holm. I hate Holly Holm's guts, but Misha, locked her into the rear naked choke. Misha tapped, and Holly never tapped. She went to sleep. Connor tapped out to Nate. He didn't want to go to sleep. So there's the double-edged sword. You could see both sides of it. But when an official goes ahead and makes the decision for the fighter, that's kind of messed up. So Mario stops the fight. Kevin, lets go of the hold. And what happens next? Michael gets up screaming, yelling at him. Afterwards, in the post-fight presser, he's like, Mario should never ref another fight ever again. Dana teed off on him. And Kevin Lee was on Fox Sports 1. And boy, oh boy, they had, besides Karen Bryan and Tyron Woodley interview him, they also had El Kikui interview him. So those two started chirping back and forth. And I don't think Kevin Lee really knows what he's talking about, opening up his yap to Tony Ferguson, because Tony Ferguson would snap Kevin Lee in half. Kevin Lee is what you call young and dumb. Opposite of me, I'm old and stupid. But yeah, you can't have people like that. And they were going back and forth. He called out Khabib. Now, look, I think Tony would starch him. Khabib would maul Kevin Lee to sleep. He would literally rip him from limb to limb. But he called out Barboza. He said maybe he'd go for a rematch in December in his hometown of Detroit against Kiyoshi. And honestly, I think that would be the best play for him. Let him play it back against Michael, and then maybe talk about, someone like Khabib, which I think is hilarious. But I think Khabib is the better line for him to go, because as I was told privately by somebody who I'm not going to name, when Conor McGregor comes back, it is going to be against Tony Ferguson. So, the other big story out of last night is what Felice Herrig, Little Bulldog, did to Justine Kish. Now, I'm sure you have all heard the saying, I'm going to kick the crap out of you. Well, pro athletes, when you're in the cage, or NASCAR drivers, when they're in a car for all those hours, there's no toilet. You get hit, it's an intestinal thing, it's an uncontrollable action. You poop. And yeah, Justin pooped in the octagon. And here's the thing, at least she took it all in stride with the hashtag shit happens. That shows she's at least has a good sense of humor about it. Now, I want to switch things up slightly. I don't think there's anything else really that needs to be said about last night. Oh, except for the fact that BJ Penn needs to go away. I'm not one that says that athletes need to retire. They should keep going until they have no more left. But this poor guy is really... he is holding on way too long. Like, I remember Steve Carlton at the end of his career with the Phillies. He wouldn't be able to strike me out. BJ Penn is literally holding on by a very, very tiny thread. And I really, really think it's high time he hangs up for good. Because, look, if Dennis Seaver's beating you, you know you're in trouble. So, and big props to Tim Boast winning once again. But, Johnny, Big Rig Hendricks, really, Johnny? You step up in weight and you miss weight again. I don't know what in the world the company could do with Big Rig. I mean, look, this guy has missed weight so many times. And look, I love him, former champ. He's a great human being. He's nice to us autograph people. The fact of the matter is, he needs either a serious nutritionist or one hell of a talking to. Because, frankly, there is something definitely wrong here. There is something very, very wrong here. And, like I said, he needs some help, seriously. Now, let's talk about Bellator 180 week. Even though normally I like to separate segments, I'm going to just slide right into what happened this past week. Normally, I wouldn't bring up certain things, but I'm going to let it all hang out here. Might as well. There's plenty of me to hang out, so it's all going to hang out. So the Fighter Hotel, being the New Yorker on 8th Avenue between 34th and 35th Street, I want to give massive props out to their security guards for thinking they are protecting Obama, the Pope, and Trump all at the same time. Threatening to call NYPD and waste taxpayer money. But they neither here nor there. I got everything I needed to get done outside on the sidewalk after, of course, a couple of situations with security. But every fighter was, I can honestly say, really cool, which is a very, very good thing. The fact of the matter is, with these guys, there are some issues, okay? For example, Hoist, and I don't know how to sugarcoat this, but Hoist Gracie, truly one of the icons of the sport. And me kind of got very friendly with each other during the course of the week. As a matter of fact, he ratted me out to Tito Ortiz that I was stalking him. I turn around and go, Tito, well, in fact, I would have liked to stalk you first. But yeah, there was so much going on during fight week. I'd like to say that Chaim Ghazali, first of all, it was an honor to see him finally fight in person. He's a legend in Israel. He's fought in Abu Dhabi in those tournaments a couple of times, and he's actually won them. But I never thought in a million years that young Ryan Couture would have been able to beat him. And sure enough, he was. And I want to actually thank Chaim for giving me a hat off of his head. Although then again, what I did was I asked him for one of his shirts, and in front of all my friends, he's like, no, those shirts no fit you. Which we get it, yes, I am in fact fat. It's a big shock. But he's like, yeah, I'll give you a hat. And I'll give him props. He was a man of his word, gave me the hat off of his head. So I want to thank him for that. But it was shocking to see him not be able to take out Ryan Couture. And I actually might have considered thinking that Randy Couture, since he was cornering his son, might have considered even at one point jumping into the cage and hitting Chaim with like a WWE type chair shot to the back of the head. Props to Brooklynite Heather the Heat Hardy, who, by the way, not only is she smoking hot, and I mean she is hot, she is seriously fierce in the cage. It was her pro debut. And yeah, you know what? There were some flaws because Alice Yoger is a veteran in the cage. She knows how to handle herself. But if Lou DiBella wants to allow Heather to get more MMA fights, she's going to be good because she has the striking down. And look, here's the deal. Once she felt her legs under her, once she got, you know, the ball rolling, so to speak, she just beat the hell out of Alice. Even though, I mean, Alice had a slight advantage early on, and once that ball started rolling, it was like one of those big snowballs going downhill, or me rolling. You know, the fact of the matter is it couldn't be stopped. And after she wins, she's dropping to her knees. She's, you know, all in happy, joy tears, as Dennis Miller would say. But yeah, massive props to Heather. And of course, and here's one of my problems with Bellator. When you have a bunch, first of all, it was two cards in theory what they had. They had the Bellator 180, which is the Bellator 180 prelims, and then the regular 180 card. Then the pay-per-view portion of the night was Bellator NYC. And look, it was in theory really, really good. But the card was way, way too long. And because of timing issues, the Neiman Gracie Dave Marfone fight wound up getting taken off the Spike portion and then saved for the pay-per-view. Now look, yeah, it gives a couple of more eyes on pay-per-view for David Marfone, which is a good compliment to him. Puts Neiman Gracie on pay-per-view, and that's great for him. But as I sat there with some friends of mine, and we were all talking, we're like, where's that fight? Why are they skipping it? And we honestly thought something happened in the back because both guys made weight. Both guys looked good in the afternoon walking around on the street. We couldn't figure out what happened. And because of that timing issue, because TV rules the world, they had to push it to the pay-per-view. And it doesn't really belong on pay-per-view, that type of a fight. James, the Stranable, Gallagher, mini Mystic Mac, mini Conor McGregor, Conor's young protege at SBG. First of all, the kid is the nicest kid on the planet. And it's really actually hard to look at him and hear him talk to you with that Irish accent and not think of Conor McGregor. You know, and even he was saying, Conor in round 3 against Floyd, Conor in round 3 against Floyd. And then a couple of us talked to John Kavanaugh. I'm like, John, Conor in round 3? He's like, no, maybe 6. So I guess maybe we cut the difference and Conor by TKO in like round 4 or 5. At least that's what I'm hoping. And that's also what I'm predicting. But that's a whole other story. James calls a shot, says he's going to put Chinzo Machida, a BJJ, well above average black belt fighter. He's going to put him in the rear naked choke. He made the symbol that he would choke him out during the weigh-ins. And he actually taunted him, to be fair. He taunted him all week about it. And sure enough, inside round 1, puts him down and chokes him out with a rear naked choke. And of course, a friend of mine listening to the show right now, Brian Horan, who not only, and yes, it bothers me that he won cage side tickets, although I gave him a lot of grief. I'm happy for him, I think. But then he gets James's Irish flag to stick more salt in my wound of not being down there. But yeah, James Gallagher is definitely someone you guys need to look out for. What I'm going to do now is just tell you guys that later on, right here on BWRN Radio, Al Martin, the owner of this establishment, along with the funny, the hilarious, one of the funniest guys, Clayton Fletcher, will be here, right here, up here, BWRN. Later today, I want you guys to keep listening for that show. And also, I want to remind all of you, on Facebook, In the Cage with Cyclone. Twitter, it's CYCIE19. BoneheadPicks.com. You could read everything I write. And keep watching, keep checking, keep looking at the one, the only, CycloneComedy.com. I'm going to talk more Bellator right after this.
Hi, I'm Jim Miller.
This is Dan Morigliano.
I'm Derek Brunson.
I'm Nick the Carney Lentz, and you're locked into the cage with Cyclone.
All right, we're back. Thank you guys for the liners. And one other thing, really, really sad I never got the opportunity to do any liners with any of the fighters because I couldn't get inside the hotel. Then again, it also helps that I didn't get my press credentials that I was hoping for. But I will not whine, I will not bitch, I will not complain about that here. I will save all that melodramatic stuff for my Facebook posts. Let's say we do first a Facebook question. Now, I'm still pulling out numbers for it. We haven't quite gotten our roulette wheel of fun yet, but that'll happen soon enough too. I'm pulling out a number for the question, and it is number three. Number three. 1, 2, 3. Uh-oh. I know someone's going to be angry. Brian, sorry, you did not win. The winner is, once again, John James. I can right now feel in my bones Brian just going, no, stop it. He can't keep winning. Well, you know what? Brian, you keep winning tickets to events. John's winning. Look, I took the number out of the bag. I can't help it. Okay, so John's question. How did you like the show? Well, to continue talking about Bellator 180 NYC, I liked it. As a matter of fact, afterwards, back at the hotel outside, I talked to Luke Thomas about it. I think it was better. First of all, it was way better than the World Series of Fighting on New Year's Day. I think it was better than UFC 208, which is not saying much. I think it was slightly worse than 205, even though it had the possibility of being better than UFC 205, because the card was so stacked. It really was. Just like this next bout I'm going to talk about. You know, Ryan Bader, #and new, beating Phil Davis. You know, it's a rematch from the last time they fought back in the UFC, where Bader won. Bader beats him again by unanimous decision. And this time, he gets a prize. He gets the Bellator Light Heavyweight Championship just for shits and giggles. And this is really unprofessional of me, but I see a text message coming. Oh, I thought it would be from Brian. It's not. And it's actually a good thing that Brian didn't text me right now because I would yell at him, Brian, I'm yelling at you right now. Don't ever text while I'm doing the show, especially since you're listening to the show. Anyways, I honestly thought, even though it was a unanimous decision for Bader, I really thought it could have gone the other way. I think one judge was way off with the scoring. But props to Bader, and then Bader walking around the lobby of the hotel, eating pizza, being drunk, which God bless, he's allowed, just getting off of a fight, and walking around with the belt. You got to give him props for that. Also have to... Now look, here's the deal. The UFC, Bellator has put a lot of money into young Aaron Pico. He is a future champion. He has such a huge promise. He has such a huge upswing, especially the fact that Eddie freaking Bravo is training him. So you know darn well that Eddie Bravo doesn't play no games. You know he's going to be good. Eddie's in there with someone who I got very friendly with, Zach Freeman, who, by the way, will be a future guest on this very show. I have to speak to him next week. I give him much props. Everyone, no one except for maybe his parents, his family, his friends, and me had Zach Freeman. The world was basically against him. And he's a killer. The fact of the matter is, he fought for a title with a broken hand recently. And over in LFA. And he's not someone that should have been looked past. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of people look past him in the media. A lot of people, fan-wise, look past Zach. And they were dead set wrong to do that. There's no way he could have been looked past. He really did what he had to do. First of all, Aaron Pico pulled a CM Punk, and I know that that's overstating it, but when you come flying, charging out after someone, you got to assume you're going to get caught. It's what Jose Aldo did to Conor McGregor. It never seems to work just coming flying out like that. Zach catches him with the uppercut. As they go down, he puts him in a guillotine. Aaron taps, not wanting to go to sleep. And sure enough, all hell breaks loose. And it's sort of, a lot of people in the crowd had that reaction, like when Undertaker lost at WrestleMania, that shocked look on their face. And you got a smug SOB like me laughing at everybody that's doing that. And then really fast, because we're running out of time, because like I said, I have a very important meeting I have to get to. Michael Chandler dropping his belt. First of all, you got to feel bad for him. He injures his leg. Now, Brett Primus said that he's the one that, with his low leg kicks, he's the one that injured him. I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying he's not. Everybody has their own reality. In my reality, I'm GQ's sexiest man of the year. And we all know that that's not true. But then he rolls his ankle on top of it. He's sitting on his stool. He gets up. And one of the officials pulls the stool away from him, and he falls back and lands on his butt. So you got to feel for Michael. But I know he's going to be back strong. I don't know who Brent Primus is going to take on next, although he did say he'd be open to giving Chandler a rematch. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. that leg, that ankle is going to need a long time to heal. So, who knows what's in store for him. Douglas Lima, and here's another match that could have very easily gone the other way. I personally scored the fight in favor of Lorenz Larkin, but Douglas Lima with the unanimous decision win, and Rory McDonald sitting cage side. So you know Rory was brought into the company to go for the title, and it's going to be interesting to see him fight because he is a killer. In this pond of Bellator, he will cause a lot of damage. It was an honor to see Fedor, the great, the last emperor, who I can't believe I broke down with Pretty Please to take the photo with me. But it was great to see him fight. I got friendly with his translator, his longtime friend, Tanya. And first of all, that match with Matt Mitrione, the only way I can describe it for anyone who's just waking up from being under a rock is look at the Rocky Balboa Apollo Creed poster. That double knockout happens. I mean, I get to go out on a date with a beautiful woman more often than double knockouts happen. And like Matt Mitrione said, he picked his head up and was like, holy crap, Fedor's down. And he jumps on him, throws two right hands, and Big Dan Miragliotta jumps in and stops the fight for the KO win. And everybody knew that this match was going to end in a KO, but not like nobody would have predicted that is the way the KO would have happened. And then the bad guy, Chael Sonnen, much like I said in my Dave and Buster's video to him, congratulations for taking out Wanderlei Silva, a match like a bazillion years in the making, finally happening. I honestly thought, here's the deal. I spoke to Tito Ortiz earlier in the week, and Tito said Wanderlei is going to kill him. And even though Wanderlei hasn't been in the cage for 4 years, it was obviously going to be Russ like the Tin Man. I thought he would have come out a little bit stronger than what he actually did come out at. But you could tell there was definitely rust on Silva. He was breathing heavy. Chael took him into the abyss of wrestling. And he did what he had to do. And you know what? I give Chael Sonnen a lot of credit. Because for him to then say, I officially hate all of New York in the cage post-fight, and then to call out Fedor, he calls out Rory McDonald. You got to give the guy props for calling out just about everybody. Because you know now he's going to keep fighting. There was a theory saying that if he loses, he might hang it up and might just stay with Bellator as a broadcaster. But the fact of the matter is, Chael Sonnen, while he's not the quintessential great, athletic, typical MMA fighter, he is the American gangster. He is the badass. And it's going to be really interesting to see who Scott Coker signs him up to face next. As a matter of fact, in a little while, Scott Coker is going to be talking about that very topic. Really fast, I do want to bring up one other thing before we start to wrap up the show this week. I feel so bad for Sage Northcutt's younger sister, Colby. She was making her MMA debut for LFA. Courtney King manages to take her down. And I don't even know how to describe it. She threw 3 punches to the back of young Colby's head. And talk about officials becoming the center of attention. The ref jumps in and calls it off, and you could see the look on Colby's face. There's no way that bout should have been stopped either. So, officiating in MMA is taking like a really bad hit right now. And it's been on a bad streak. You never want to be the story if you're an official. You want to go out there, you want to call everything right down the middle, you want to be everything nice and sweet. But you have officials sometimes that just don't get it. Now, I want to remind everybody that I will be back here on BWRN Monday, July 10th, which is right after International Fight Week. So there's going to be a whole lot of stories going on to talk about that. Show's getting a little bit better. Some hills, some bumps. That's okay. I want to remind you all, In the Cage with Cyclone on Facebook. We have Twitter, CYCIE19. We have boneheadpicks.com. We have cyclonecomedy.com. Sorry, we did not have time this week for a dream fight. Hey, stuff happens sometimes, you know. That's the way the world works, ladies and gentlemen. But hopefully we will have another dream fight next time. We will have a spotlight fighter next time. Next time will be Monday, the 10th of July. Oh my God, it's going to be July already. Time flies, boys and girls. And this is Cyclone, just reminding all of you, if you are not an athlete, don't feel bad. You could be an athletic supporter. Bye-bye.